where we are with things. Rapeseed all still in flower, but it's just going off its peak now, and it's cold.
There's none there, but
Today is like, it's only 7 degrees at the moment, and I doubt it's going to get a huge amount warmer. But you can see in Brittany, wherever you go, you can see it. Another field there, another field over there, and we're going to be passing fields on the way to the workshop.
And who's going to the workshop with Dad? It's me, your favourite YouTuber.
My assistant YouTuber.
Your favourite YouTuber. Anyway, I've decided to come out with my dad this morning because I'm going home in a week, and my dad wanted me to spend time with him. So we're going to spend some quality time together at the workshop.
You mean when I get you to be my slave?
Yeah.
At the workshop?
Yeah.
So everywhere the farmers are sowing the maize now as well. They're all the fields that are open that are cultivated now are going to be sown for maize. And obviously the other crop we have here is wheat, which the majority was sown last autumn. And it's what you call winter wheat. There's a field of it there.
There's a car.
That's maize, that's maize. Ronnie's going to pan around. That's just been sown, you can see. This is kind of what we have in France. It's very arable, very rural. And woohoo! Cherries. Cherries. Apples.
See, this is the thing when I go out with my dad, is that everywhere you go, he is going to point out a tree. Yeah.
Cherry tree.
There's another tree.
Cherries.
There's another tree.
Apple tree. So I see all the trees all the time, but it keeps your plant ID going when you have to identify trees. Like, so I'm driving along, we got, there's a ornamental cherry, there's a bird cherry, there's I forgot that one. More cherries. Getting so kind of like brainwashed by what's in flower at the moment, but there's lots of stuff coming into flower.
Ooh, what's that?
That'll be just the supers in the back.
Oh.
They tend to migrate from the back to the front all the time. The way I go to work is basically across loads of valleys, so I get to see everything that's in flower in the morning before I get to work, and it kind of gives you a bit of a boost. It's so pretty living around here. If you look just to the right here, you'll see it's exactly, we've got another field of rape in the distance there.
Yeah, I can't see it. I can't see
just
it.
there you'll see it. Just there.
Yeah, but I couldn't see it.
There's an ornamental cherry here.
Cut it
Not
down.
a waste of time, cut it down. Don't give any nectar. We don't want any trees around that don't give any nectar. But the whole place, as it smells like piggery there, the whole place is alive with
Smells
more
like
cherries.
salt, yeah.
And yeah, it's great fun really to see all this, you know, because in like 3 weeks' time, the majority of it's finished. 2 weeks' time, really. And we'll be back to scratching around for pollen and nectar for the next 3 weeks before the chestnut starts.
There's a field. There's none.
We've just come out of Borsal, which is a very pretty little village.
Don't tell them the secret location.
The secret location of our workshop, yeah. It's like the palm trees on Thunderbirds, you know, that like all go down just as we arrive, so no one knows exactly where the workshop is. There's a big field there, very yellow.
Oh, that one's nice.
One in the distance, one over there. The sun's actually not out now, so they're not shining up that well, but huge amount of nectar around now. But it's just cold today, so I doubt the nectar will really be giving today. That's the problem. Right. First thing we do is light the fire in here because we need to get that wax warmed up, but it's pretty quick to light. Oh, we had the lights done out
filming
here,
the secret location, by the way. Is that alright?
Yeah, you can, yeah. Well, what we do is we actually mount our wax on top of the stove because it just keeps like a little reservoir of wax going while we're using our burette to finish the frame. So we're doing frames this morning. and we use this little stove, but it's also damn cold, so it helps warm the place and dry it. We've got a lot of machinery in here that has bands and belts and stuff like that, and we don't want it to get rusty, so we keep it keep the air kind of dry.
And why are you doing frames this time of year, Richard?
Like we always do, we love doing winter work in the spring and summer, because what else would we be doing? You like my fire?
Dad lights a fire. So interesting.
Well, we use a lot of the sawdust and
so interesting.
and the wood chippings, well not chippings, but the
Quality video content.
this stuff to get it going, because it actually burns. And then we have a lot of offcuts from when we're doing bits and pieces. So you can see it really does raw when you let it rip. We've actually just renovated this. We just changed the chimney from the back to the top, and we've managed to move it further back, so we've got more space in the workshop, because we've just got some more machinery here, and it's like it needs a little bit more room now. So that here that I've told you before is it's a little wax pourer, and I can't get this top off now because it's not hot enough. Yes, I can, but in there is just water. And that is a little jacket around this whole pot, because then the pot has the tube that comes out, and that's where your wax sits. Okay, so what the water does is it obviously heats up to 100 degrees and starts to boil. So you take it on and off the heat, but obviously the water's boiling temperature is much higher than the wax melting temperature. The wax stays liquid very safely, and you can put it. It's what you would call a bain-marie for cooking. And it means you can put this on top of the heat. But this really is just for literally pouring. We don't really melt wax in here. To melt the wax, we generally use this, which is a
cooking pan.
But obviously, you don't want to go home to your wife's cupboard and get your best cooking pans out, because obviously it gets messy. And obviously you've got to be careful, because the whole thing is you don't want this to overheat. So we're kind of always taking it on and off the stove. We've got a little camping gas thing we use when I am actually pouring this, but you use kind of what you have. So we're using also some, when we cut up our Mini Plus frames, wax sheets, they're over here. When we cut those up, we cut them out of a Dadant sheet now. We were buying a special order where we have 4 together. So we were buying 1, 2, 3, 4 like that on a sheet that was wider. And it was costing, actually, as for a special order, we just found out, to be honest, it's just as quick to buy the standard Dadant frames of wax and then cut them into 4. And when you cut them into 4, that's all you have left. So we just use these. You can use them as starter strips if you want to do any cut comb, or you can just melt them down and use them for doing the edges of your frames. It's all really good. And also, obviously, every now and again, you get some sheets that you have in a hide for ages that get all warped, and so you just take them out of the frame and you can't fix them. We really are quite adamant about not using warped. See, this is what happens. Look, you see, that's been in a frame for ages, and it's had hot, cold for a couple of years, and then it gets like all wavy. If you've got the bees to build it, they build it in the shape of the waviness on the frame, and then it looks a complete mess, and you get a mixture of brood and drone brood and everything, so it doesn't make nice combs. So we just melt it, we just use it in this. Everything has a use, nothing kind of gets wasted, and as you'll see, that will melt down pretty quick. And it's cleaned wax already, so we don't have to worry about it, being dirty. It's all ready to go. So now the most important thing, next thing we do is get the tea on. So obviously the most important fundamental part of the workshop is tea and coffee. So we have this thing where first thing I do every morning, apart from lighting the fire first, is make the coffee. And we have a cup of tea first, and then we move on to the hard stuff by about 10 in the morning, because by then we need it, you know.
Coffee is made.
But we have the coffee and the perk going, but we've actually run out of tea.
Because we can no longer import tea from the UK, thanks to Brexit.
Have we got any honey here?
It's not miel
de châtaignier.
It's not miel de sarrasin, is it?
No, it's not, don't worry.
It's not that disgusting stuff that you make.
Cheers.
Yeah, you just completely blanked me out on that one.
I can't wait. Hello.
That didn't work.
Little mouse droppings.
Ew.
Well, I did show everybody my last video.
All right. Okay. So they
But I
can
can talk about
they
it
can
and
have a
say that.
repeat session.
So yeah, I did mention this in my last video, and obviously because Molly's forgotten about it because she doesn't watch my videos, she wants to see how I do it all again. So these are the frames that have come from the wax melter last autumn that we melted down because we either lost colonies or we just wanted to change frames, keep it the sanitary needs good. They are stacked outside for the winter. The wax moth get to them, the mice get them a bit outside. They just chew all the bits and pieces off, so they end up with a frame that's actually fairly clean. And what we do is just come along with a couple of scraper tools, clean out the groove on the inside, check that's clean. And then we use these sheets of wax that I said before, we're now cutting from our standard Daylent size. Normal cire gaufre in France you call it, or foundation. Goes into the frame like that and just sits in the groove. And I'm going to come along in a minute, and with the burette we're going to melt the wax into the bottom of the groove just to hold it in. Because really, when you use Mini Plus, the bees build the whole frame so quickly anyway that there's never an issue. They build it everywhere. They build the sides, the bottom and the top. So this is just literally to hold it in during those first few days while they get going. And now what we're doing now is we're going into our colonies now, breaking down the overwintered colonies that have grown. A couple of them swarm. They've just started swarming this week, but now it's gone colder again. So we're going through them as fast as we can and stopping them swarming by giving them space. But we gave them loads of space before, but it's just not enough when you've got huge 7-story colonies for your Mini Plus. So we're running out of frames as fast as we can make them, because obviously we use about 1,500 every year. And there's always a certain amount that rest in circulation and a certain amount that don't. And the ones that don't are these ones. So you need a surplus to work with in the spring. So it's very simple what we do. Partay.
Partay. It's partay.
It's partay.
So
Okay,
tell
so-
us what you're going to do.
Then I put a little dribble of wax in and just to cement that in.
Okay.
So this is the burette that I was talking about. The wax is now liquid in the top and it will pour out this spout. And that in there is just hot water that's just finished boiling. That's pretty hot.
Yeah, it looks fine.
But it actually works real well. The thing with these little burettes is they're about 45, 50 euros each. But what you've got to be careful is you don't run them dry. Because if you run it dry, the wax could obviously boil or flash over. But the problem is the solder on the bottom can actually break down and melt. So you've got to keep them full of water. Obviously, then they only ever stay at 100 degrees, but that's the problem. So when you're tipping this, we have a tray that you can sort of use for a lot of pouring wax on. It's just a sheet of cardboard, but we'll probably scrape it off and melt that down eventually. But we just put a bead across the inside here. I don't know if you can see that, literally a thin bead like that. It does spill out, and then we tip the rest off. And you can see straight away, that's almost straight away dry. And then I do actually stack them up here. Again, leave them finish drying.
Although we can't see a thing.
Oh no, I'm going to turn it around this way. Come this way, that's
Trying to
it.
give the view.
So you just put a bead across there like that. Tip the excess off. This wax isn't actually as hot as it could be. The hotter the wax, the better, because it actually melts a little bit of the foundation temporarily, then beds in. So just make sure that your wax is nice and warm, not on the point of re-solidifying. But anyway, it works fine. It's just an extra. It's a little bit extra we do. Obviously, the sheets wouldn't hold in on their own anyway, so you need to fix them in somehow. You can get quite quick at it. it doesn't really matter because there's loads of wax. You just stick a load in, let it dry. Bob's your uncle.
Fanny's your aunt.
And it's done.
There's a thing that my dad and me say, because in France, when you say thank you, say merci beaucoup. And because we're a bunch of Brits, we say merci buckets.
Merci buckets.
Yeah, so merci buckets.
Merci pour the cafe.
Yeah.